holidays nale, adu namma GT Holidays da. South India's #1 travel brand.
டார்லிங் மொபைல் உலகின் சூப்பர் ஸ்டார்
GUVI, இந்தியாவின் தலை சிறந்த vernacular edtech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.
Salangayoli is a great film. I mean, this is one of the finest works, in terms of choreography, in terms of layering photographs, and I think the very subtle play of morality again. Who is she? Who is this woman? And why does this man? He's a kind of a Devdas, but a very different kind of a Devdas. So I see Devdas narrative continuing through, from there on to now, and how Kamal Haasan does this in a very different way. And so many times there are such lovely touches of the camera freezing, and then that's the last photograph he has taken that she has slipped out of the frame. Such beautiful details. And I was telling him that he said, yeah, it's such a wonderful, such a memorable film. And even once upon a time, he said, once in a way, I call up Vishwanath and say, you remember that scene in that film? And we will discuss it as if it was somebody else's work. It's a memorable work. There is no doubt in that. The dance master did that. How see that her portrait doesn't get. He holds her water here and stops it there. And of course, Jayaprada is just so beautiful. She's so ravish, brilliant. In fact, I think nobody less than Satyajit Ray said, if there is every goddess on the screen, it is Jayaprada.
I think he called her the perfect Indian beauty or something.
Perfect Indian beauty, So I think that she found a great foil in Kamal Haasan, to bring forth that reaction. And
there are a lot of movies about love, but in this movie, there's a certain innocence. I think that's the reason it resonates. There's something very untouched about the whole thing. It's like, and I'm not just talking about the fact that they don't have sex or whatever it is, but the whole concept of love itself it's higher than the senses. It's something like celestial love or something like that. And it sounds silly when you speak about it, but that's what it is. And it's also there in our epics, that love that transcends mere mortals and all that kind of stuff. That's what you find here.
In fact, I think I have mentioned the idea, the possibility of understanding the hero as almost, and the heroine as androgynous. After some time, they don't have a sex of their own. It is like Shiva and Parvati together. It's like Vishnu and Lakshmi together. They are together now, and that moves beyond the heterosexual into the androgynous being. So in a way, what happens is the people who are watching Kamal Haasan on the screen, the males are watching him with equal delight as the females are watching. See, that's where androgyny comes through in our film. And of course, I'm also contextualized that kind of film with the coming of heroes as great dancers. It becomes a big qualifying point. If you want to be a hero now, you can't be just singing songs from behind it. You got to be dancing. And that's because Hindi cinema had Jitendra, Rishi Kapoor also coming up, and Mithun Chakravarti. They had great, good dancers on screen. And so that kind of audience also saw a competition being given to the women on the screen who were dancers. Great. So this is the first time that he poses not a threat, but a challenge to these women as dancers.
Nayakan.
Nayakan is largely the film which rests on his shoulders. It's really a solo performance that he takes it.
There in practically every frame.
Absolutely. And therefore, he knows that it's a genre film. For the first time, he's attempting a genre film. Which is like they have studied Godfather, they have studied all the film noir.
Is that the first genre? Isn't Sikka Prozakal the first genre film?
Genre film of this kind, where everything is together.
The gangster.
The gangster film, and then the lighting, the whole approach towards this family as a gangster, you see, is coming through. I mean, I was speaking to Kamal Haasan and said, yeah, I'm doing this film now. It's the first genre film that I am working
You were speaking to him while the movie was being made?
While the movie was being made, I went and spoke to him. So he said, it's a very different film. I don't know how we are going to make it, but we've got to give it our best. It had lots of problems. It was supposed to be shot in Bombay, and then they shifted the whole set to Veena Studios and did the whole thing there. But what I liked about the film, how Mani Ratnam, of course, is a big contributor, how they managed to make it into the Indian family drama. The bringing of the daughter character was just amazing. There's nothing to do with Godfather, you see. That this daughter is shown, who the hell are you, to go beat up people, So when the daughter asks this question, and she gives birth to his heir, to the throne, and that boy says, are you a good guy or are you a bad guy? I think this is something which even Coppola would not have anticipated in his work, But I think that's where Kamal Haasan and Mani Ratnam collaboration, I mean, I do not know whether who wrote this, who told this, but it's how it works, in a, like a synergy between the two of them. They came up with. Therefore, so Nayakan, in fact, is one of his first big attempts at doing this very complex makeup, you know, and how he does the makeup for himself. And I think his idea about doing prosthetics kind of start here with Nayakan, and it emerges later on into Abhay Shanmugi and all of that later on.
Like things that Velu Nayakan would not actually dance. So there is, even though there's a holy song, and even though Kamal is a good dancer, the character does not dance.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Exactly.
There was I remember that because uh, I don't know which anniversary of Nayakan was it, but I was sent by the Hindu to interview him, and the headline became, of course, Velu Nayakan does not dance. So that was something that happened. Satya.
So Satya, for me, because I've seen the Hindi version, and I'm seeing
you've seen Arjun.
the Tamil version, and you can see how Kamal Haasan takes it to a completely different level, from that Sunny Deol movie to his level. So in Satya, he's playing the first gangster, trying to the guy who's going to the anti-establishment and the young anti-establishment hero, and how he's going to deal with this, you see. And for me, the most important, the city comes to life. He dares to put himself in the middle of the streets, and act his scenes out, and dance his scenes out. And that is for me the big takeaway. That so far, film actors, we don't want, hey, go in public, mein jayega, crowd will come. But he said, doesn't matter, we'll go. And therefore he goes and he choreographs that opening song so beautifully. And I think for me, the second thing I remember very much is the song, with Asha Bhosle. Asha Bhosle, right? Or Lata Mangeshkar?
Lata Mangeshkar.
Lata Mangeshkar, how she sang. And I liked it in a way that there is no way that you could picturize that song to do justice to that. That song is a different level. And therefore, Kamal Haasan and the director decided to just play it cool. Just walking through the, Madras race club, and they're just hanging around there. And the song is playing in the background. But the interesting thing
What
is.
do you mean walking? The most iconic thing about the song is that hanging from the bus.
Exactly, from the bus. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, so that moment, is what I think. Now immediately we will believe that, oh, this Kamal Haasan only invented this idea. May not be. Somebody else would have said, let's do. The dance master would have said, let's do it like that.
Yeah.
See? But the important thing is this: the family drama that comes into Satya, the elder brother, who does not want him to do this, but he says, no, we should fight. We should not give up. In a way, we are giving away what I'm broadly seeing that is the transition from the post-colonial period. Now we are dealing with an independent India. Now, no point saying this is all problems left behind for us by the Brits. This is a problem we have to handle by ourselves with our people.
Right.
You see, and that's a very important point in the 80s that is coming up. So Satya makes that first breakaway to say, let's not blame it all on the system. We have to take it over. We have to deal with the system and the problems.
And I also remember Satya as being one of Kamal's first films where the idea of, I don't know what better name, but this pan nationalism comes about because in Arjun, Dimple is a generic heroine.
Yes.
Here, Amala is a Malayali.
Yes.
Kamal is Tamilian. So that comes about. Then he casts Bahadur from Malayalam cinema as his father.
Right.
Very very unlikely kind of casting because in those days stock actors are cast as dad. I don't know, some Purnam Vishwanathan, somebody like that. It's just like these. He's slowly integrating the various states in terms of actors and in terms of dialects and other things. And as this would go on, in Nammavar, for instance, Gautami is playing a Telugu teacher. There's some Bengali somewhere in Mahanadi. There's a Bengali community. So like slowly and I think it started around the Satya time. Because that's when he started individualizing people as not just Tamilians, because different parts of India, but coming together under the roof of.
It's a good point. It didn't start. I don't think I wrote about that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very good point. That he looks at the pan-Indian cinema.
The pan-Indian. I mean, like if you look at it, every film of his, there's some. I think in Nammavar, Nagesh is playing Kannadiga, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, the best example is Dasavataram.
Dasavataram.
The whole India.
The whole of
India.
Everything, everybody that you.
Telugu, everybody.
Yeah, everybody's just there. So
no doubt.
Guna. Again, a very repressed sexuality, Freudian kind of very good companion piece to Mundram Pira, by the way.
Yes.
I was very surprised that you didn't club that.
I didn't club it, but I referred to this.
Yeah,
it is the alter ego of Mundram Pira.
Yeah.
I did write about that. It is just that he's I remember one meeting him around that time, and he's deeply interested in bhakti poetry. So this idea of Shiva and Parvati being the Ardhanarishwara, so he cannot see herself as different from herself, from him. He sees her as one body, and therefore going into that cave, the cave being the womb, going back into the womb and wrestling back with the mother. So there she is, and she's broken her hand. He has to bring her back to life, and he is also a kind of autistic person in this. You see, he's mentally challenged, and correctly so. So one would look at Shiva as also being somebody who's mentally challenged, because his viewpoint is totally from a third eye. He doesn't see with normal eyes. So that's what I think Kamal Hassan was trying to pay tribute to the Shaivite poetry of the Nayanmars, and many of it comes here into the work, and of course the fantastic music by Ilayaraja, just take it to another level. It is just that you see what happens is sometimes when you have a slightly comic thing like S.P. Balasubramaniam playing the policeman, sometimes you have to say let's have some touch like that. A person who's going with
Yeah.
asthmatic guy going around, making it slightly humorous, and then you have a Hindi fellow who's the villain, who
Yeah,
comes there,
Sharat Saxena, yeah.
Sara Saxena. So these are sometimes they break the stereotypes, and yet this film is itself breaking the stereotype of what the normal hero and the heroine is.
Right.
So it is, in fact, as you correctly said, a reflection of Munram Pirai on the reverse direction.
Yeah.
Now, he is the challenged person and she is the normal person.
Yeah.
And yet how they have to save each other.
Yeah, I think that also comes, the SPB kind of thing also comes from directors and at least creative producers always wanting somebody fresh and interesting, as opposed to the stock
Stock characters.
character actor playing
Correct.
that part for the 78th time. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And in this case, SPB just doesn't work for me, at least.
Exactly.
I mean, I love SPB to death, but
Right,
this
right.
this
Yeah.
particular role, because you like you say, it becomes a little comic,
Comic,
and that
exactly.
effect is not sitting well with this.
Yeah.
Whereas that other, where that song Kalyanam is being played and he goes and gets a shave and this and that and all that, that is not comic, but it provides a nice jolt of comic energy
Yes,
in a film that is so serious.
So it becomes very poignant.
Yeah,
At the moment.
it's like, because it's not supposed to be comic, and he's not trying to be, but it's at the same time it's a nice light moment in that
True.
in that movie.
Yes.
As an academic, as a theoretician, what do you think makes Kamal wants to do two things? One is bury his own face under makeup, and two, multiply himself as in many roles, whether it's twins or triplets, or triplets in the sense of father and two sons in Abura Sagodaragal, or four roles in Michael Madara Kamraj, or 10 roles in, what is it that makes him want to magnify himself as well as make him disappear in under all that prosthetics and latex? And
I think he gave the best answer to this question. And I asked him, what is the most memorable thing you would like to become? If you had not become, what would you have been if you had not been into this? So I would have been, my greatest ambition would be the best audience in the world. So he said, that's why I want to see myself differently, because I want to be an audience who's enjoying this Kamal Hassan on the screen. So he gave me a nice formula. He says, what is my formula in acting? He says, when I do a film, there is me, Kamal Hassan, there is the character, Guna, and there is a third character I invent on the location who is watching Kamal Hassan playing Guna. So I always listen to that third character, and that character is the audience in a way most of the time. What do you think I'm doing with this character? And therefore, when I see the audience say, hey, do something different, no? And therefore, I do something different. He said, therefore, I become a Bahurupi. I love to put on makeup just to see myself differently. In a way, it looks like, because he finds this film industry is so slushy, that at least let me create a relief for myself by doing a different role, by putting on a different makeup. So he would go to elaborate extents of doing Ave Shanmugi makeup for 6 hours, morning 4:30 to 12:30, and then coming quick 3 hours of shooting, and then the whole thing is gone. You know, so he goes through elaborate, almost self-torturous process. That I put this makeup on and I'll do this, just to see himself doing some other character, and that he says the third person telling me.
okay, okay,
This third guy is telling me, do something. I'm not enough. And so I can tell you a personal incident. And I was watching Kurdi Punal in Devi Theatre, I remember. And he's playing himself throughout the film. And the audience are sitting and watching. And then there is a scene where Nasser is asking, come on, tell me who's. and he refuses to divulge who is the main architect behind this, and therefore he tells the guy, beat him up. And he stands outside, he smokes a cigarette, and you can hear punch sound, bang, 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 ah, ooh. Then after about a minute, he opens the door and goes inside. You see Kamal Haasan is face down, and he comes close, catches hold of his neck and pulls him up. And his face is completely battered up, you know.
Yes.
And the whole audience went into claps. For me, what? You guys are clapping. I said, I'm asking next, why are you clapping? Sir, enna makeup, sir. They came to that film to see a different makeup.
Wow.
He has prepared the audience that I am going to do something different for you every film.
No, that is okay
Huh.
because that is kind of an extension of Shivaji's
Exactly. Yeah.
thing,
Yes.
right? It's like I will be different in each
Every
film,
film. Yeah.
whereas MGR was I'll be do the same thing in
Same.
every
So
film.
here was the audience waiting for that. It comes in the last, second last
So the
scene.
guy next to you actually said,
Sir, enna makeup போட்டிருக்கார் sir அவரு.
"Wow."
He was conscious of the makeup. Maybe he's watching it for the 10th time next to
I
me.
don't know, maybe because
Maybe.
I would be like,
I
it's
would
a
be shocked.
horrifying
I
scene.
was
Yeah,
horrified, you
yeah.
know, but this guy is clapping and enjoying it, you know. He said, sir, என்ன makeup போட்டிருக்காங்க sir. Now that's something which he has trained the audience to come up with, you know, all the
Right.
time. I will do something different. So in a way that Bahurupi, you know, on screen, off screen, wearing multiple hats, is the culmination
Of all this,
of everything called Kamal Haasan. You know?
right? Would you say that again as an academic? Would you? How would you describe Kamal Hassan's love for bloodletting, in the sense of I don't think there is another Indian actor who has seriously subjected themselves to so much self mutilation, right down to cutting the hand in Mahanadi.
Mahanadi.
I don't know. It is like there's
Yes,
other,
yes,
even the way he shot in Kurudipunal as opposed to
yeah,
Drovakal,
yeah, right.
it's a very spectacular. Like
Yeah,
he's
true,
he,
true.
he's machine gunned against the wall.
Wall, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Then there are different. I mean, the number of torture sequences that he's put through in various films,
yes.
they are quite
Yeah, I think
elaborate.
I go back to his, you know, he loves the bhakti poetry, you know, it's about repentance, you know.
Repentance for what?
Repentance for example, that girl, you know, he sees himself, he's the cause, you know, for this girl becoming a prostitute in Mahanadi.
Oh, Mahanadi. Okay.
In Mahanadi, you know, or you know whether it is in Guna, you know, in this film, he says, shoot me, you know, I brought you guys all into this. I want to repent for this. I cannot be absolving myself of all this and say, yes, this is the guy who's Vikram, you know. So in a way, that repentance, you know, of the bhakti poetry, you know, works. That sorry, we are all your adimai, you know, falling at the feet, surrendering oneself is a better word, you know. I think that kind of a feel comes through, that you give up your body, you know. What is this body after all? Is this what makes you look beautiful? No, give up your hand, give up your face, give up your leg, you know. In Anbe Shivam, he disfigures himself and he comes around. And every time, you know, that is actually adding to our sense of wonder, that he's able to disfigure, not transform, but disfigure himself, you see, in that sense. So disfiguration is part of his masquerade in a way, you know. And but he has to go through so much trouble. I quoted a small little thing as to how did he wear these glasses, you know, such thick glasses. I said, how could you stick with it? He said, you know, I did a small trick. I said, what is that? You know, I got contact lenses inside which would reverse this glass.
This
And
is
he's
Anbesivam.
in Anbesivam. He had a contact lenses inside. Because if you just wore those, you know, minus 20 glasses, you would not be able to
See anything in front of you.
anything.
Yeah.
But he saw through because he wore glasses inside. And I remember Madan telling me that, you know, when he got those glasses and that whole get up, you know, and Kamal Hassan putting it on and putting it in joyous laughter, you know, he says, I've never seen Kamal enjoy like a child. He was watching this. He said, wow, I can see it so perfectly. So he loves technology. He loves all this part of his study of technology, by the way. The fact that glasses could be made like this, you know, or a drone could be made like this, cameras and special effects.
We won't go too much into this chapter, but then because I don't want to reveal everything in the book, but I find the chapter title very interesting, which is the Spartacus trilogy,
Huh.
Mahanadi, uh, Kurudipunal, and Indian.
Indian, yes.
So Spartacus, of course, being Kubrick's film,
Correct. Yes.
or the legend of that slave
Right.
revolt,
Right.
is what you're referring to
Yes, yes. Slave
here.
revolt, yes.
We'll have to talk about Heram. A
Oh,
few
yes.
lines about it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So in Heram, it was for him one of the first experiments with what is Gandhi and peace and what is non-violence all about. And he was, he continuously, when we would meet, to talk about how Gandhi has been so misinterpreted, as somebody who's a loser, who's not. No, he was an activist, an activist who decided that there's no point fighting, on the streets and letting blood loose, but to understand. And therefore, what happens is in Heram, he sees Saket Ram becoming an antithesis of this guy who's an archaeologist, becoming. And therefore, he sees a loss of sexuality. Okay? And he is forced to marry this young girl soon after the death of his wife there. And there he sees, she is unable to provide that love, and he has to hold this gun. So the gun becoming a phallic symbol, of this, and not really the assassinus. It's becoming an extension of himself. And so, and then there is this lizard, which is falling, and the lizard comes from the Vaishnava temple, seeking the best wishes, you see. So he put together all this complex metaphor into the film, and I see that that gun that he is holding is a kind of a phallic symbol, which he could not achieve, in a normal relationship with a woman. And therefore, what happens, you could see at the beginning of the film, you will see that there's a party in which he is not usually a drinker, but he is made to drink, and then he drinks and then he dances. Similarly, here they gave him a drink, and that puts him into a stupor. And in that stupor, he goes and embraces. In a way, he's saying embracing fundamentalism is a form of stupor. You are drinking into it. It becomes an alcoholic addiction, and therefore you lose your sexuality, your real self in that, and then become a kind of a common criminal. You want to just go kill because you have been ordered to do that, you see, because somebody has said, go kill him, and you going. Then finally you realize this is not a gun, this is my own loss, which I'm carrying in my hand, and you decide to give it. Of course, psychologically, it is motivated by the fact that he saved Amjad Khan's family, from being shot. He saves the family and the children, and Amjad Khan dies in the process. And he feels so bad that, he sacrificed his life for my sake. How can I go and kill this? I think that spins out so beautifully, that this whole idea of the woman, wife, children, something which he could not have, how this family complex, of his own sexuality comes out here. And then this gun, he finally wants to gift it to him and say sorry, but he's assassinated by somebody else. Till then, we believe that he is going to be the Godse. But then there is another Godse there who's doing the assassination. I saw this journey as a way of true, and the real meaning of non-violence is to give up this phallic masochism inside you, or the male chauvinism inside you, to become the ordinary citizen. And ultimately, when he grows old, he is taken to a gutter, and then this thing is repeating by itself. So it is that powerful image of Gandhi as a practicing non-violence person. And that's what I think Hey Ram does, in the year 2000. And what a way to begin the millennium, 21st century, with a film like this. It has gone through so many other problems, having El Subramaniam in the beginning, Raja recomposing the whole song track. And after all this, after all the effort of rebuilding Calcutta, the film did not reach the audience. It did not reach the audience in that sense because it was probably too layered. And it requires, therefore, more film society movements, more discussions like this to educate that audience, that this intertextuality and contextuality is as important as the text itself. And that's probably the only reason why I wrote this book, that please let us study the context of films rather than just see, oh, this story, and the story, and this story. It is not about a story anymore. The form and content is the film. The story is its function. And we are all the time bothered about the function of the film, not the form and content of the work.
If there's a continuing theme in Kamal Haasan's work, whether it's his work as an author or as a participant, as a writer, and you claim that even in the films where he was just an actor, he was doing something within the context of the film that is more than just an actor. So I don't know about that aspect, but there's always been a in the more auteur films, there's always been a very strong psychosexual undercurrent, and I find that in Heram, as a playful innocent, he's super erotic with his wife, and he loses his sexuality completely when she dies because one part of him just goes away. That libido goes away, and he rediscovers his sexuality when he embraces
fundamentalism.
fascism,
Exactly.
fundamentalism,
Correct, correct.
and that he discovers that he can become a virile being again
Yes.
by
Holding a
embracing
gun.
the gun, so to speak,
Exactly.
or his
His
the
phallic
phallic
symbol.
symbol.
Correct.
So I mean, I've never. This theme appears over and over, not
Yes.
in this particular form, but whether it's in Guna or whether even it's
Yes.
in Mahanadi or
Right.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
this keeps this is a theme that's in either majorly or as a small
Small thread. Yeah.
undercurrent in the form
Yeah.
of some other character.
Sure.
It is
Sure.
a constant,
True.
and I that's another very I think important thing that he's done is to normalize sexual discourse in films, whether people actually talked about it or not openly. At least he made it okay for it to be seen
Mm,
on screen,
yeah.
in some form of the
True.
other.
True.
And he didn't differentiate between this is a family movie, so like because Mahanadi is as familial a movie as something can
Yeah.
become,
True. True.
and and you still have that.
Yeah.
So
But now that you are saying this, I feel this is the resonance of K. Balachander, working with K. Balachander in the five films.
yeah, very possible.
You know.
One of the most startling moments in Tamil cinema for me, when Jayashankar in Avaloru Thodarkadai, he is Sujata chases him out of the house.
Mm,
He crawls back in at night to have sex with his wife,
mm.
and when he's crawling out, Sujata catches him,
Yes.
and she she says the most
It's
horrible,
horrible.
contemptuous things
Exactly.
about him, saying that,
Correct. Correct.
gee, you've come here for this or whatever
Exactly.
it
Yes.
is.
Yes. Yes.
And to find a scene like that in a 1973 film,
Mm-hmm.
scene like that, or a context like
Right.
that,
Right. Right.
that
Right.
you, okay, he may be outside the house, he may be a loser or whatever it is, but he still has sexual desires.
Yes.
He wants
Yes.
his wife.
Yes. Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
No,
Uh,
I think there's a saying that says, இது வயத்துக்கு பசி மாதிரி எனக்கு சோத்துக்கு இதுக்கும் பசி
either pasi.
காமத்துக்கு பசி.
Yeah,
So these are sexual hunger and the real food hunger,
yeah,
are the same for him. So that dichotomy, you see,
yeah.
that, and she also says, what is wrong? His wife comes out and says, what is wrong? Why are you
Why
shouting
are
at
you
him?
shouting? Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
it shows how morality has degraded so badly, in that sense.
Not see, I also see it another way is that Sujata is so sexually repressed because she's unable to do anything that she
Exactly.
wants,
Correct.
that
Correct.
in a way it's her jealousy that's making her speak.
True. Absolutely. That's precisely what is the complex of Balachandra's films there.
Yeah,
Very true. Very
yeah.
true.
Let's wrap up with the last two. Virumandi. Last two, as in the last two
Yeah.
in this book, which
Right.
is
Right.
Virumandi. Let's
Virmandi, yeah.
yeah,
I think Virmandi for me is, trying to recreate the Rashomon kind of experience with multiple storytelling, and it is so advanced for his for a Tamil audience, in
for
that
me,
sense.
of all his films, in terms of realization, it's the most perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me,
Yes,
I know
yes.
other people have other films, but for
Right,
me,
right. Yeah,
it's
perfect.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So how to take this discourse from the real problem of law and order in the village to the real problem of law and order in the police state, in the prisons. How do you see the two? So in a way, it's like Foucault's idea, that the house is a prison. We are not going to escape the prison just by getting out of this place. You're going to land up in another person unless and until there is genuine bonding between families. And if families are continuously going to kill each other, and especially in Tamil film, in Tamil society, because of caste systems, then we are never going to move forward. And therefore, this we could not call it, at that time, we could not call it by the caste name, but call it Viramandi. But how the caste disposition towards festivals, towards families, towards property ownership, toward temple ownership, all this cuts across. And how this one Virmandi tries to see in a very innocent way. He's almost like a joker who does not know this complex system exists, but he jumps into it. So that is his point of view, and then there's Napoleon's point of view. And two points of view coming together and fusing in Pasupati's point of view. So these three characters, how they tell two different opposite story. What I saw you did not see. So
yeah,
which is the truth? So that's a major is cinema telling the truth
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah, yeah,
So in a way, if you see Rashomon, whose truth is it? Five different versions. Who is the truth? And even Kurosawa and Rashomon had to keep showing the sunlight. And if anybody has witnessed the whole thing, it is the sun. You want to ask for the truth, go ask the
that's
sun
fine.
god. So in a way, human people are so fragile. We are so fragile. We continuously admit ourselves or snatch ourselves out of issues and as if to our convenience, in a way. And then for the police fellow, who say, yeah, this is our convenience, you have no right to say. And then this woman, intercepted by a woman who comes with a camera, and she wants to record this whole thing, so there is a film within a film that is playing. It is too advanced.
There are two
Too
things
deep.
about Viramandi for me. One is, cannot imagine how that screenplay was written with such preciseness.
Yes,
It's like
yes,
it's
yes.
that. And the second thing is, I'm truly happy that it was a success,
Hmm.
because there are many times Kamal has done great things
Yes,
and not
not success. Yeah,
they've
yeah,
not been
yeah,
successful.
yeah,
So
right.
this was an actual box
Success,
office
no
hit.
doubt, no
So
doubt.
that was
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And finally, what do you think about the Kamal Haasan of today? The Vikram,
Yes, the
the
Vikram, yes.
Indian 2 and 3, and
True, but I
uh,
think we see he is going through a phase where he has to, in fact, recover himself, Kamal Hassan the self, in a way, because he has great dreams. I spoke to him a long length about how Vikram is really not his kind of cup of tea. This is a multi-starrer, depending on so many things. But I asked him, when are we going to do your next Papanasam?
you told me this. I
Yeah,
mean, you just mentioned
yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
He said, yes, we will do it, but not immediately. I got to recover myself. And he's still not lost.
Recover in what way?
Recover, his own production house,
Ah,
He wanted to be what he started off in 1980 with
Rajapal.
Raja Parva. He wants to get back to that, produce my own films. And, and in fact, when with his older brother Chandrahasan, we were discussing about how to make a slew of low budget films, while this will continue on the top. But these low budget films are what is going to keep the film industry alive, because it's going to provide employment for so many people.
No, also a new talent has to be
And new
discovered,
talent has to come.
because
Otherwise,
otherwise,
you'll be stuck with the
yeah,
old people.
yeah.
And therefore, his film school idea is still not lost. He's still thinking about starting a film school. He's going to say, I've got land, but I want to develop a film school in a way there will be no government interference. That we should have a school built into it. And that's a wonderful idea. Again. Should have a primary, secondary, every school inside. So from the young days itself, a child should understand what was cinema all about for us.
Yeah.
So is it, what is the process of looking at a film? The concept to the perception of that. How do we actually, or do we are just happy, giving gut reaction to film? So in fact, he's not giving it up. Still wants to start a film school. Still wants to enter into that area where we can educate people and become a very proper professional filmmaking community.
Right.
Once, after all, you will know that, you see, the most tragic part of the Indian film industry itself, totally, that it is worth peanuts. It is worth 18,000 crores of rupees, which is equivalent to about $2.2 billion. I mean, you are living in a country where there are 200 individual billionaires. Individual, they are worth more than 8,800 crores. And we have on the top somebody like Mukesh Ambani who's worth $127 billion. What is the film industry for them? It's a pipsqueak industry. It means nothing. But if the Indian film industry is surviving today, because of its audience, we are wanting, we expect so much from our film industry. And I think Kamal Hassan realizes that. As when he said, I want to be the best audience. Yes, we have to be the best audience. And if the best audience have kept the industry alive, and it is running at 2.2, billion dollars, where if you can hear a film like Barbie collected $2.2 billion. And that is the net worth of the entire film industry. So imagine we are running the most popular entertainment.
It's not just a dumb movie.
Yeah.
It's a kind of very
Ah,
subversive.
true. But I'm just
Yeah.
equaling. A film like Barbie collected that. I mean, the whole film industry is that. So I'm just saying how much we have to grow. And that can be grown only one is that if we enter into the corporate industry, that Indian cinema has to become corporate in a proper sense. So when you have Infosys and you have TCS, why can't we have an Indian film industry running like that? After all, that is how Korean film industry developed. It's a corporate house.
Is that right?
Yes,
South Korean film industry,
it's a corporate house.
oh,
It's run on
like
shares and
with a CEO and all
yes,
that.
CEO and all of that. So
Oh,
there are companies. I mean, way back, Japanese cinema was a corporate industry.
when Toho and all.
Toho, Daiichi, they were all corporate houses, business houses with shares in the market. They
Oh,
had to they had to report to board of directors. You see, for every film. In fact, the fact that Kurosawa was allowed to make Rashomon was because he said, I'll do it in the tiniest budget, and I'll do it in the backyard. He had already produced two successful films, and the board of directors said, okay, let us give him this chance. And everybody said, what is this film? Who will understand this film? But because of a corporate backing, it was shown at Venice in 1950. You see, now it goes to Venice and it becomes the golden line at that, and then afterwards it is wildfire. You see, we are not able to capitalize on one Pather Panchali having won the best award at Venice, or Aparajito winning the best gold. We never took advantage of that. We should have. After all, if we all believe that cinema is an international language, what is the regional cinema, mainstream cinema? We are making once we think like that we have to think of an international film all the time, then we should get out of the fact that we are making a Tamil audience and Telugu audience. But somehow, because our audiences are so deeply attached to our filmmaking system,
and also because the diasporic audience
they are also there. But if we say how conveniently, if you see European cinema has taken a backseat, they are just producing few films a year because they are letting Hollywood run the show. We are still not letting Hollywood run the show because our audience still want Rajinikanth and Kamal Haasan and Prabhas on the screen, which is a good thing. Which means we still are loving our own indigenous products.
Yeah.
And we should encourage that. We should do that, instead of saying, oh, forget it, this is not going to be possible. But somewhere I feel if Kamal Haasan can kind of come up and set up a corporate image for our own films, we will be much ahead of many other cinema. After all, we are now the fifth largest GDP in the world.
Yeah.
Why is cinema so backward, Everybody's gone corporate. Why are we not going corporate, Now, the moment we use the word corporate, you mean MBA fellows are going to tell you. Suddenly, we look down upon MBA people as incapable of reading scripts. No, I mean, develop script clinics, Develop good workshops where people can go and quickly learn some craft, how to handle a sound recording equipment or a camera or a lens or something like that. But we don't do. We don't do that at all.
Yeah.
So somewhere we should do that. And once we have a proper studio system, corporatized completely, I am sure there'll be more money coming in. It will not be going to just a few films at the top, but it will be spreading to a lot more films at the bottom also.
Now, since you talk so much about money, you make a crucial distinction of like the post-liberalization Kamal Haasan being first seen in Nayakan.
Yes.
Can you explain that a bit?
Yes. So what happens is, how do I look at
even though the film technically was pre-liberalization,
but what do I look at as liberalization? For me, liberalization happens when both Rajiv Gandhi and Narasimha Rao government comes in into where they open the doors from the license Raj to the consumer Raj. Now, what did consumer Raj do for us? It brought about the idea of creating good images, which means that the product is not as important as the packaging of the product. So advertising cinema came up in a big way after liberalization. And that was a huge boon to the film industry. I mean, P.C. Sriram and Santosh Shivan and Rajiv Menon, they all cut their teeth in making ad films, and therefore they could bring such beautiful results on the screen. So Nayagan is a product of that, of the production process where good cinema is not just good story, good acting, but it's also about well lit, good sound, good focus, good depth of field, good lensing, good tracking. All that becomes part of the film language. So the understanding of the film language becomes more intensified after the coming of liberalization. And therefore, Nayagan is one such product. And there all the other films from there on. Today, even when you see an ordinary film on OTT platform, they're also well shot. The texture, the fare, everything is so beautiful. So it has now become the standard, which is good, And therefore, the young generation should understand that, this standard is possible only if there is a lot of rehearsals, a lot of understanding of the medium, what is color tones, what is color balance, what is sound balance. All that has to happen. I mean, I'm happy that recently I saw this Sanjay Subramaniam and Sean Roldan doing a fantastic experiment with the works of, Adigalar, 6 songs brilliantly recorded, brilliantly shot. And I think when I saw that, I said, okay, there is hope. We have got something to hope for. And it's an investor coming from Singapore who's put in the money for this film. So let's hope that this can trigger off more expressions.
Okay. We've talked enough of the book. Let's just talk about Hariharan. And one last question. It's a mass question. It's a Sakala Kalavallavan question. What is your favorite Kamal Haasan film?
I would say Hey Ram.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Hey Ram is because I suppose, I kind of contextualize with the freedom movement and all that troubles that happened. And I think very few people actually taken on the politics of partition and Indian history with the horn, bull horn. I think Hariharan will still be my best work.
So thank you so much for your insights and all best wishes for the book.
Yes, sir.
Holidays nale, adi namma GT Holidays da. South India's #1 travel brand.
டார்லிங் மொபைல் உலகின் சூப்பர் ஸ்டார்
GUVI, இந்தியாவின் தலை சிறந்த vernacular edtech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.